Let me start with something strange about human nature. In a world where millions of people scream at televisions, memorize player statistics, and plan their weekends around games, there are always a few people quietly standing on the outside. They don't hate sports, they're just not obsessed with them. And that small difference often reveals something surprisingly deep about the human mind. Picture this for a moment. You're at a party. The room suddenly explodes with excitement. Someone just scored a game-winning play. People jump up, they shout, they hug strangers, and the moment keeps replaying again and again and again. But inside, you feel like an observer, not bored, not annoyed, just slightly removed from the emotional storm happening around you. You understand why everyone else cares. You just don't feel the same pull. And sometimes, that feeling creates a quiet question inside your mind. Am I missing something? Because in many cultures, especially in the United States, sports are more than entertainment. They are a social language, a way people bond, a way people signal belonging, a way people instantly connect with strangers. Think about it. Two people who have never met before can instantly become friends, simply by discovering they support the same team. That's not just fandom, that's psychology. Psychologists have studied this for decades, and they've noticed something fascinating. When someone supports a team, their brain often treats that team as part of their identity. That's why fans say things like, "We won!" Even though they never stepped onto the field, their brain has merged personal identity with group success. This is known as social identity theory. Humans naturally form tribes, and sports teams become symbolic tribes. But here's where things become interesting. Some people don't build identity through tribes in the same way. They don't feel the same psychological urge to attach their emotions to collective victories and defeats. Instead, their identity comes from somewhere else: curiosity, ideas, creativity, reflection, personal exploration. So when the crowd erupts in celebration, their brain simply responds differently. From a neurological perspective, sports fandom can trigger strong dopamine responses. The suspense, the tension, the sudden victory. It activates reward circuits in the brain, very similar to storytelling or even gambling. But people who don't obsess over sports often chase dopamine in different ways: through learning, through creating, through exploring ideas. Their excitement comes from discovery rather than competition. But the psychology goes deeper than interests, because sometimes this difference reflects a deeper emotional orientation. Sports culture is built around outward emotional expression, loud reactions, shared excitement, collective identity. But some people naturally process experiences inwardly. Instead of broadcasting emotion outward, they explore it internally. They think, they analyze, they reflect. And large emotional crowds can actually feel overwhelming rather than energizing. Inside their mind, the experience can feel strange. They watch people bond instantly over something that feels almost magical. A game becomes a shared emotional heartbeat. A city celebrates together. Strangers hug. For many people, this creates powerful belonging. But the quiet observer stands just outside that rhythm, watching, not disconnected, just experiencing it differently. And here's the surprising part. Sometimes that distance creates a unique kind of freedom, because when your emotions aren't tied to outcomes you can't control, you experience the moment differently. While others ride waves of victory and defeat, you remain steady, curious, observant. And that mindset often reveals something deeper about personality. Research suggests people who are less drawn to large group identity often score higher in introspection and openness to experience. They question social norms more easily. They are less likely to adopt interests simply because everyone else does. Instead, they follow their curiosity. They build identity from the inside out, rather than the outside in. But here's the paradox. Sports are one of the most powerful bonding tools humans have ever created. They unite entire cities. They create shared memories. They build emotional rituals. So when someone doesn't participate in that system, they unintentionally step outside a major cultural language. Not because they reject people, but because their mind connects differently. Maybe you've felt this moment before. Someone asks, "Did you watch the game last night?" And when you say no, the conversation suddenly pauses. Just for a second. It's subtle, but that pause reveals something powerful. Depends on shared emotional scripts. And sports happen to be one of the biggest scripts we share. But the story doesn't end there, because people who don't obsess over sports often develop different ways of connecting. Instead of bonding through competition, they bond through conversation, through ideas, through creativity, through curiosity. Their connections might be quieter, but sometimes they run deeper.